Today's guest is someone who doesn't just talk about joy, she lives it, embodies it, and gently invites you back to it. Kate Furnish is a physical therapist with over 25 years in wellness, and she is the author of Joy Mastery Method, 3 Steps to Let Go of Struggle and Enjoy Your Life Now. But what makes Kate's voice so powerful isn't just her credentials. It's her lived experience. She's a high achiever who knows what it feels like to strive, push, carry it all, and quietly wonder if there isn't a better way. And then she did something radical. She surrendered. I know, crazy, right? Not in a giving up kind of way, in a letting go of struggle kind of way. In a what if life is for me, not against me kind of way. In our conversation, Kate shares how joy isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about choosing to anchor yourself in something deeper, something steady, something that reminds you that even in midlife and in challenge, you get to enjoy your life now. If you've been climbing uphill for decades and you're ready for a little more joy and flow, then this episode is for you. Please join me in welcoming Kate Furnish. Welcome back, badass listeners. I am Sue Willoughby, the Chief Midlife Strategist here at Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. And today I have a true, in keeping with the new year, and now we are in the fire horse, the new year. We've shed our skins, we've done all that stuff, and I could not have a better guest on today to talk about surrender and shedding all of that and finding joy and how to move into midlife gracefully. Or maybe not. We'll see. My guest today is Kate Furnish, and she has got some really beautiful wisdom for you today. So I'm just going to bring her on and stop yapping. Kate, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sue. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. And I love talking about midlife. I think we have the history of the joke of the midlife crisis, right? A man with a sports car and a younger woman. Well, I think midlife badass women are having midlife awakenings. And we are changing things because of these awakenings and how we're changing our world and the world around us.
Yeah, I love your attitude because you are so right. I mean, midlife is not a crisis. It was funny. I was talking to some people who one was 20 years younger and the other one's 30 years younger than I am. And they're like, we can't believe that you are the age that you are. I'm 66, And so I'm like, yeah, it's funny. I kind of can't believe it either. It seems like just yesterday I was 26, but I would not want to go back there for a million years. So you talk about finding a point of surrender. And I want to kind of start there. And let's talk a little bit about how, how we can make midlife not a crisis and actually make it a time of rebirth and reinvention. And this is the perfect year for all of that to happen. The year of the fire horse.
And the 1 year, if you do numerology, it's a beginning year. And so we always can begin again. And how do we make it not a crisis? Sometimes we're living in crisis. Sometimes it feels like our world is in crisis or our personal world is in crisis. And the question is, what do we anchor to?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that surrender is part of how we find what we anchor to. We get to a point in midlife, I would say I'm on the downhill side of my life, meaning probably the second half of my life. And downhill can have negative connotations, but to me, that's fun. Like, have you ever downhill skied or ridden your bicycle downhill or rolled down a hill? There's a time where we can have more flow and ease in our lives. And I believe surrender is a part of that. when I was on the uphill side and climbing and working to get achievements. Think about these badass women that we are. We've survived things. We achieve things. We're go-getters. We get things done. We know how to go and do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we forget how to be. Sometimes in midlife, even though we feel like we're 26, we get a little more tired at the end of the day, or we start to see what the people pleasing or the to-do lists or even the achievements are costing us. And we start to weigh the cost. What is it that I really want to do with my time in my life, in the time that I have? And what is worth it to me? And so surrender, all of that is to lead to surrender, became a way for me to find a way besides the striving, besides trying so hard to figure it out, do it right, achieve all the things all by myself. I mean, that was part of my badass personality was, I can do this. I've got this. I'll handle this. I was a swimmer as an athlete, so I was very much like part of a team, but it's still an individual sport in a way than a collaborative sport. So I was really good at individual competition and thought I had to figure out my life all on my own. And when I surrendered, there was an element of, I can't figure this out on my own. I can't do it by myself, and I'm asking for help. And that ended up being a really beautiful thing because help came.
Yeah.
When I surrendered, there was also an element of what I wanted, being strong-willed, to say, okay, maybe there's a way beyond how I think it should go. And inviting my soul to come in and say, maybe this is really what life is about. Maybe it's not just the things you've been pursuing. Even if they were good things, good achievements, or a happy life, or a happy family, but trying to do it on my own didn't give any space for everyone else, everything else, even for myself. And so for me, surrender was actually kind of a rebellious act of claiming my life. While I was surrendering, I was saying there has to be more. I am claiming that I want a good life, and I'm asking for help and guidance in the life that I'm creating so that it has space for me and for those around me. I mean, it's a lot more fun when the people around you have the freedom to be who they are rather than fit into whatever picture you're trying to create.
That's so true. And we're always trying to fit into the picture that we think they're trying to create, right?
Yeah.
A couple of things that really stuck out to me when you were talking there that I jotted down was, you're talking about the uphill side, right? We always think of the downhill like as a negative, as a, I'm on the downslope, or it's all downhill from here. And it's like, yeah, exactly, because I'm a cyclist, and when I was thinking about what you're talking about, the downhill side, that's my favorite part. Is slogging up a hill only so that I can then just cruise down the other side. There's a lot to be said for all that. And the other thing that kind of stuck out to me, well, there was a lot of things, but when you were talking about doing it all and having it all, and remember that it was like, I don't remember if it was in the 80s or the 90s where it was like, women can have it all. They can have children, and they can have a career, and they can cook for their husbands, and they can, what the heck is that bullshit?
Fry it up in a pan.
Who wants all that bullshit? No, thank you. Cook your own damn dinner. That's what I'd say. But seriously, and here's the other thing. Women actually do, like you said, do it all. We're caregivers, we're friends, we're whatever, partners, we're all of these things. And a lot of times, like you said, we don't always take that time to surrender and admit that we need help, or be afraid to ask for help because it's seen as a sign of weakness. Like, oh, the poor little lady, she can't do it for herself, right?
Yeah, and
And it's
fighting
true.
proving that. We're still trying to prove that we get a seat at the table, right? Even though, I mean, if we talk to people in your community, you call us badass women, we've done some stuff and we've survived some stuff. And yet we're still apologetic that we get a seat at the table and we get to say we belong here, whether we can do it all or not.
Yeah, we forget that, and the other thing too is about when we reach a certain age, we start to think, oh, what else is, I have nothing to offer anymore, and I'm just going to sit in the corner and wither away. And like you said, we forget that we have all of these experiences, whatever they were, even if it's someone that, wasn't in the corporate world and was raising a family. That is a lot of damn work. I would rather be in corporate America sometimes than, that's a lot. But there's so many different skills that we have that we forget, that we can bring into that next chapter when we start to slow down and surrender and reflect. So I love that you brought all those things up. Sorry, I kind of got off on a tangent there.
I love that. And I want to also say we have all these skills that we can turn upon ourselves. Sometimes we've forgotten the lesson on receiving. We are so giving and we love to give. My youngest just left for college, so I'm in that empty nest phase, or we have people in retirement phase or change phases, and you do kind of wonder, like, oh, who needs me? And I want to serve somebody. Like, that is fun to take care of a person, and you have somebody all the time right with you that you can apply all that nurturing and love and care to, and that's yourself. And we forget that. I work with women who manage it all and help them enjoy it all now, not someday, not later, but how do we enjoy it, and how do we turn those skills and listen to that wisdom in our own lives? Because then you are putting it out into the world more and more and more. And I am a riotous advocate for us changing the world into what we want to see it be. Our world is wonky right now.
Really?
There's a lot of
I hadn't noticed.
people with power over, and how do we come from a place of power within and be the revolution that creates a world of collaboration and love and joy and life, rather than people utilizing one another in ways that steal life and steal joy. Yeah,
exactly. Yes, the world is a crazy place right now on so many different levels, and we keep thinking, and our nervous systems, I think it's so hard to regulate ourselves and to, step away from the chaos and to figure out, let me just say something about the word surrender. I think sometimes people hear the word surrender, they think it means to give up, when it is really just the opposite.
Yeah. Well, right? Because sometimes surrender is giving up, like, I'm not in the fight anymore. I'm using surrender in the term of I'm giving up my will or my ego for a higher will. And that is life-giving.
Yeah.
That is freeing, because I don't have to figure it out anymore. And when we're talking about that uphill climb versus the downhill coast, or the wahoo downhill, right? Well, there's an ease and a flow to the downhill. You still have to steer the bike, but you are going down. When you're climbing up, there's a struggle. There's trying to figure it out and force, and we all know those ways. right? We've tried it. But what if we start to move in ease and flow with the current of life? What if we can surrender to that? That is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Can I share a story from today?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
My dad is living with a terminal illness, and we're just kind of dealing with that as a family. And
Mm-hmm.
so every interaction with him has been so sweet, and we reach out a lot more to one another. But we're all living, we're gonna all die. Like, that is part of life. So if you want to send a good thought to my dad, send thoughts for peace and no pain and a peaceful, beautiful transition at the perfect time. And today we just texted each other good morning. And I told him something about, I hope you have just a day full of joy and beauty. And he texted me back and he said, you too, you enjoy this day that God created for you.
Sweet.
And it made me stop in my tracks. Like, I haven't thought of it that way. Like, I love the day God created, and I can be thankful and grateful, but for me, what if I go through my day thinking, like, that was for me? The clouds when I turned my eye, that was for me. I get to live in this beautiful world, and it's made just for me today. And just for you. Boy, that changed my perspective today.
It's so beautiful that he, given where he is right now in his life, that he has that generosity of soul to say something like that to you, and how it touched your life as well, and that you can take the day in because it is just for you. And it's not from a place of ego. It's not like, well, I deserve this day. It's just, these things are all the things I'm taking in that are for me. And I love that. And it keeps you present and grounded. And what a gift he gave you today.
Yeah, and that's part of that anchor and that nervous system, right? The surrender. And part of surrender is choosing that life is for us, not against us. And that keeps us anchored even when things feel wonky. Okay, I can continue to move through this. These women listening, these people listening, they've moved through some things. So what if there's a powerful, gentle, flowing way to move through things without so much effort and struggle and strife? Because life will provide the challenge. And we probably like challenges. But it doesn't have to be a struggle. It could be an adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a lot of how we interpret things, right? How we, when you talked about the surrender piece of it, and I had talked to you about the other day when we were connecting, about Michael Singer's book and the idea of surrender. It's just taking the ego out of the equation and allowing and taking our judgment out, and all of the things that we're like, well, that's not right because it's not what I like, it's not what I want. Whereas just saying, I'm taking my bias out of it, and let's see what spirit has to offer, or what's out there. What, if I let things be the way they are to be, what could happen?
Yeah. For the people listening that have resistance to that, there's that quote, I believe it's Buddha, let go of judgment, let go of suffering. It doesn't mean that we're in accepting how things are. That's often the first step in changing how things are. It doesn't mean that we don't have an opinion or we don't want to create change. However, if we're just in a state of reactivity to what's happening, we are not coming from a grounded, powerful place to affect that change.
And I think the way things are in the world today with all the chaos and everything, it's really hard to take that deep breath, look at things differently, and understand that it is what it is, and how we can be, like you said, in any situation, right? You got to find that equanimity, find that place of calm, find that place of center. And that's the only way that you can then move forward and connect with other people and all of the things.
and make good choices for yourself. It
Yes.
really does start with you. I think we think, it's always easier. Like, I've watched couples over the years, like one will be trying to clean out a portion of the house, and it's so much easier to help their spouse clean out another portion, right? Than do their own cleaning. It's easy to see it in someone else, but that's part of why joy and why now. Because if we find what lights us up and what brings us joy, we start to bring that to others. We start to bring it to the world. And I'm not talking about like a deviant joy that's at someone's expense. I'm talking about a soul-filled joy of what lights you up. And if you can stay connected to that no matter what, then you start to expand that in the world, in your life. You could have a pretty good year if joy was your one of the things you focus on. It will continue to expand in your life, and then it might expand with someone else's joy and someone else's joy, and we can make a difference in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's a perfect segue into the title of your book, Joy Mastery Method, 3 Steps to Let Go of Struggle and Enjoy Your Life Now. So can we talk about your book a little bit, if you don't mind?
Sure, I would love to. Well, it's called Joy Mastery because it's not like one and done. I think we want to be masters of joy in our own life, and that's kind of what we've been talking about, is finding it no matter what's going on around us. And what are some simple practices, like the book has practices that you can do to activate your joy, and your joy may be different than my joy, and that's good. That's a good thing. But finding your own joy and your connection to that. So the 3 steps in the book are to simplify, stabilize, and source your life. And we look at those steps from a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual perspective. And I think all those pieces are important. But really, when you shake it all out, it's all you. They're not really separate quadrants. It's just all part of you, and they're different doorways in. But part of that simplicity is to choose for yourself. We have so many options available to us. It can be exhausting and overwhelming trying to make the right choice. And I would suggest that it would simplify your life if you start making the right choice for yourself.
So how does one go about knowing what is the right choice? And then, because like you said, we are bombarded with so many choices, and a lot of times we're told by media or by whatever else what everyone else thinks is the right choice. How do you know? How do you feel into that?
Yeah, that's the grand experiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've been so conditioned to try to do it right or look right or do the right things for what we've been taught. How do we start to feel into that is by starting to feel into our very breath, our very body, feel what's there and connect to ourselves. Because sometimes we're really disconnected because we're listening to all these other voices. I mean, I'd like to ask the listeners, what did you enjoy today? And if you don't have something that pops to mind, maybe it's been a little minute since you were focusing on joy and since you were savoring life. And that happens to all of us. There are periods of life that are like drudgery. They can be like Groundhog Day, where it's all the same. It can be like running on a racetrack where you're just pushing so hard to get to something. It can be a sadness or a grief that is consuming you, and it's hard to even imagine getting out of bed, much less what would be joyful today. And so part of that mastery is making a choice to let joy be part of your life. I'm a champion for that. I'm an advocate for that. I want you to make that choice that joy belongs in your life. But it's a personal choice, and it might not be true for you. But if it's true for you, you can get a long way by just making the choice that I'm going to enjoy the life that I have. And then you open the door to starting to explore, what does that mean to me? What is joyful to me? And so I would invite people, just like take 5 huffs. It's called like the breath of fire in yoga, where you just push your belly in and you blow air out. You're mostly just blowing air out. And we'll do 2 sets of 5. We'll just blow some air out, breathing kind of quickly with your belly, pushing your belly button towards your spine. So I'll sound strange, but I'll do it. Okay, so we're gonna do 5 breaths, then take a big breath if you're not breathing, and do 5 more. So we're just chuffing out. So
I'm huffing too.
Sometimes that lets you get out some of the chaotic energy that you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of enlivens you, and you can do it for longer. You can time it, or you can count, whatever works for you. But then once you've done that, now let's just take 3 slow breaths. We're going to breathe into our belly or the back of your ribs. You're pushing that diaphragm down, and you're letting the lower part of your belly and ribs expand. So we're just going to breathe in gently and breathe out. And we're breathing in. And we're breathing out. I'm gonna let you do 3 more of those while I talk to you. And as you breathe in, just feel the inside of your body. And breathe out and let it all go. Whatever tension that you're carrying. Breathing in and feeling the inside. Breathing out and letting tension melt. Breathing in and even feeling and connecting to your heart. And then breathing out, you can even sigh.
It's interesting how when you're doing that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot I've got a podcast going here. Letting out an audible sigh makes you feel really good. I think sometimes people are nervous to do that, right? Because like, oh, what's somebody going to think about me? Like, nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, right?
Yeah, and you can practice it in the privacy of your own space as well. But you know what? We take so much in all day. I talked about receiving earlier. Taking stuff in is different than receiving. We take in the day. We take in information. We take in tasks that still need to be completed. We take on projects. We take on burdens of the people we care about, right? And we start to struggle under that weight. And then when we take a deep breath and enliven our own body and breathe out, and just let it go, maybe we realize we don't have to carry all that. Have you ever, like, I remember as a mom, like you're going around the house picking up laundry and your arms are getting more and more full.
Right.
Eventually you have to put it down in the laundry room. You might have to go back and keep going, but you get to capacity. And it's sort of like that in our lives. We're picking things up all day long, and we can get to capacity if we never exhale and set some of it down.
And a lot of the things that we're picking up are especially not physical things. It's energy. And when we are taking on someone else's energy, I'm a 2nd level Reiki practitioner. So, I mean, even when I'm working with horses or people, or anything like that, I have to make sure energetically that I am protected. I bubble up when I go to a store where I know there's going to be a lot of people and a lot of their energy, because if you don't, and if you don't think about how someone else's energy is affecting you, it, and some people are like, I hate to say it, but energy vampires, where they're just like, or the Dementors in Harry Potter, they're just like, pulling all of those things out of you. And before you realize it, you're like depleted from picking up all of the things. And a lot of it is energy, not just, even if you
Not
have
just
an altercation. Yeah. If you have an altercation with someone, that's energy, right? That's a piece, you've either taken on their, energy, and also, given some of yours. So it is a challenge to have some self-preservation throughout the day. So that's my tip for the day. Be careful of how you're spending your energy. Where's it going? Where do you feel it being drawn from you? Or where do you feel like you need more of it to like make your point or do whatever? So you're either having someone suck it out of you or you're expending energy. I don't know. That's what I try to be very conscious of, because as a human design type projector, and I don't have my own energy source to
I
speak
heard you
of.
just learned that you were not a generator, and now you're
Not a generator. Go through my whole life as a generator, not happening. Why am I so tired? Uh, I'm very conscious of it. Like, okay, I need to take myself somewhere quiet, or remove myself from a situation. And I do notice it when I'm around people a lot more. I spend a lot of time alone because I'm either with my animals, or I'm doing something on the computer, or I'm podcasting or whatever. And I live alone, so I don't have a lot of interaction. I do notice that when I'm in extended periods of time when there's a lot of people around, I'm like, oh my God, I need a nap.
yeah, because you're sensitive to those. Well, you talked about bubble wrapping. I would also say inhabit. If we inhabit our space and our body, less gets in.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're taking up our space. And Sue's also talking about a level of mastery of she's aware of her energy. She's aware of the energy around her. And that's powerful, because then she's starting to learn, oh, this is what I need. She's listening. She's connected. She's using those skills to take good care of herself. I think that's a beautiful example, Sue, of
Thank you.
that self-awareness.
It took Sue a long time to get to that point. She did not come by that easily. So
Yeah, that's a developed skill, and it's not something we're taught in school, and it's not something that's talked about in the normal conversation of at least a lot of North American society, but maybe some other societies talk about energy more, but I think it is part of the conversation now. And, even talking about this new lunar year, new year, and the year of the horse, the fire horse, and new beginnings, it's also a time of awakening, like that midlife awakening that I referenced at the beginning. People are being aware of their intuition and their energy, and that's part of flow and listening. And women have that. It's just not always honored, or people call us names for that. We're dramatic and hysterical and too sensitive. No, we're powerful and aware and connected. And if we start to use that for ourselves and for those around us, look out.
And for those of you who are just listening and not watching, as Kate was talking, she was making kind of like a wave motion with her hand. And it really is just like, if you're like in a boat and you're kind of going with the current and which way, or the wind. And like I used to fly planes, and, the wind is a very, interesting force, because you're not just driving down the highway and getting buffeted by wind. You're also off the ground. So the wind can lift you up, it can push you down, it can push you one way or another way. And so I like how you said, like, making So when I was flying, if you're flying and there's a wind coming at you like at an angle, you have to just make small corrections. If you make a big correction, then it's going to send you way off your course. And then you got to make a bigger correction and come back on. So I loved that hand motion that you were making, made me think about in life making those little small corrections, right? Just a tiny one, because to keep the tiny ones going, right, then you're just going to make a tiny one. You're not going to overcorrect and then have to come back and everything. So if you can feel into those things like you were talking about, Kate, and be more aware, oh, okay, if I just do this one little thing, I feel better already and I'm back on track, or I'm, whatever. So that kind of made me think about, your hand gesture made me think about making those little corrections.
I like that. And what a beautiful description of surrender. Like when you're flying, you have to surrender. The wind is there, but you're still steering. You're part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something bigger than you. And maybe that's what we didn't say about surrender. What if there's something bigger than us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things bigger than us.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things at play. There's a lot of elements. There's a lot of everything. And energy is one of those things. And you can say the same thing about sailing. It's just, how can I use the wind and play with the wind to help me to get to my destination, wherever that might be.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting conversation. I had no idea where it was going to go today, but that's the beauty of this is, we start out talking about surrender and joy and then, all of these things. And it's all such a beautiful tapestry that we all weave, right? Just like your dad said, this beautiful day that God created just for you.
Yeah. And for you, like, it's all interconnected, so it's not mine and nobody else's.
Yeah.
Everyone gets the day just for them.
And all of those little pieces that you realize that, oh, this is just for me. This is my experience. This is how I'm experiencing my day. Yeah. That was created just for me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. I'm feeling all warm and cozy after this conversation. I don't know about you.
Well, good. Maybe even a little joyful too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I want to just touch back on the joy thing for a bit, because I've had clients come to me and, as you mentioned, we go through life and we're just achieving and doing and doing and doing and not being, right? And I think that in order to have a better sense of joy and what that feels like, we have to look inside physically as well. When you do, and it's kind of like, think about a time when we're kids, we're just like joyful about everything. Well, we're like, wow, everything is new, everything is fun, and everything is like, wow, 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 wow. And then we put that away as we get older because we have to achieve, we have to do all the things.
It's serious. We have to.
Yeah, it's all serious, and forget that. And I think that it is hard to then separate how we can find the joy, because we had started out talking about that. How do we know when something's joyful? And I've had clients be like, I don't know. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, we get disconnected from that for sure.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is just can you be open to, I wonder if something will strike me as joyful today. Mm-hmm. Just be open to it, because we don't want to get in our heads and try to problem solve it and think hard about it and make it another thing.
That's not joyful.
Right. But maybe just getting up of a morning and saying, I wonder what will spark my joy today. And then just look for it. And it might happen. And maybe it'll take a couple days. But I bet there's something in there that you just haven't even been noticing. And when you start to notice it, it will have an impact. And then celebrating it when you notice it. And getting to know yourself about, I used to do a thing when I was out walking in the morning, or I would take my phone, and in the spring here, flowers come up. It's around Mother's Day. I'm a single mom. So I was always like, oh, this is my Mother's Day present. The flowers are all blooming, and I would take pictures of the flowers. And I love just like getting the angle and the light. And could I make it look as good as it looked in real life? Or did it look better? Or could I never capture certain ones? The way the light hit it, I could never capture that in a picture. But I did it for no purpose other than that it delighted me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it for probably a year here and there when I realized, oh, this is something that brings me joy. I don't even go back and look at half the pictures, but it just makes me happy to capture that. You might have something like that you do naturally that you haven't even been noticing.
Yes, that's what you don't. And that's what I was going to say is like, always be curious. If you have something and you feel something in your body, like I may say a little puppy because I love animals.
Yeah.
Or I see a baby horse in a field and I'm like, I literally pull over the car, get out and go look at the baby horse just because I watch how they jump around. And, at the next door to the barn where I keep my horse now, it's baby lamb season. They're starting to pop out. And oh my God, I mean, talk about joy. They don't walk, they spring everywhere and they're just like, bah, 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 and just that to me is pure unadulterated joy. And it's just so sweet and so cute. So that's where I get my joy from. There's other places too, but I mean, when I see things like that, my heart melts and I'm like, you are just so free and cute. And I want to just pinch your little nose because you're so cute.
I love that. I love that that's not the driven 30-year-old, right? That wouldn't have a minute to stop because that would take her off course. Mm-hmm. That is someone curious and adventurous and joyful of, you know what? Life is to be savored. I'm pulling the car over. I'm getting out. I'm looking at that horse. I'm going to watch it for a while. Like it is our lives. These are our lives. We get a choice to enjoy them. And I think it's important that we enjoy them. We've been told too long that we're supposed to sacrifice our lives. But what if we enjoy them as a prayer of thanksgiving for what we've been given? And then imagine interacting with the people that you care for. Would you be as resentful, or would you maybe be lighter and happier doing that? The projects that you manage, if the burden's not so heavy and you brought joy to it, might feel different to you. It's okay to enjoy your life. In fact, it's imperative. And it matters. Your joy matters to me. When Sue was talking about her joy, I was smiling from ear to ear. I was lit up. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think we need, and I think the more joyous we all are, whether it's whatever it is, we're going to have a better attitude about an encounter that we may have with someone that may be a less favorable encounter than we want. But by stopping and watching the baby lambs or the baby horses or the whatever, that made us smile and warmed our hearts, then that's going to radiate out and it's going to raise the vibration level. And when here I am back at the energy again. But it's true. And I think the more that we can all share that, it's going to have a ripple effect. So that if you encounter someone with a heart that's full of joy, and maybe their heart is not, they're going to feel it, right? They're going to feel your heart. They're going to feel your joy. They're going to feel your heart. And the only way that we can do that is just starting within and go and radiating outward and having that joy spread through friends, family, community, people you don't know. And I do think that the more we can raise the vibration, the more it's going to help settle things maybe in the chaotic world that we live in today, or at least have a little ripple effect around us.
Yeah, that's the bubble that you were talking about before. I mean, being connected to your joy gives you resilience because you can return to it. Even if there's a moment that's hard, you're like, yeah, but I know what brings me joy and I can come back. And
Mm-hmm.
we're changing the frequency. That's so well said, Sue. And I mean, there was so many things came to mind. I think I lost one of the thoughts, but she's talking about the frequency and what frequency do we want in this world? And that is your bubble of protection, is that high frequency and your anchor to your joy, which is within you, gives you a lot of resilience.
I feel that. Yeah, I do. I feel that. And like I said, it did not come easily or quickly. It happened over the course of my life so that I can now sit here and talk about those things in a way that hopefully makes sense to other people and hopefully resonates in some way that, you know, we all know when we're around somebody who is not vibing very high, who does not have a very high frequency, because we can feel it. And you can feel it start to pull you down. And if you're around too many of those people, you might have to struggle to get away from that and to get your vibration back up. So be around high vibing people. And I'm not talking about happy, giddy, stupid,
Yeah.
crazy, that kind of, but people that are centered, are grounded. You can feel it. You can just feel it. So, okay, boy, I talked a lot this time. I don't know where did I go there?
Got it out.
Yeah. So Kate, as we're wrapping up, I mean, there are so many gems in this show today. Um, I would love to ask you, and you have shared so much already, if you could leave the listeners with a gem or two more, that would put a nice bow on our conversation today. What would you do? What would you say?
I would say it's your time, it's your turn to enjoy your life. Life will bring challenges to you. That's just a part of life. We're not glossing over that. We're not saying you should always be happy. Yes, we're smiling ear to ear when we're thinking about the springing baby lambs. But joy can also be quiet. Joy can also be a touchstone in the midst of deep grief, in the midst of big challenges. But it's something we get to choose. And so don't abandon yourself or abandon that possibility. Maybe life isn't created for us to suffer, but created for us to enjoy and to be present in. And there will be ups and downs and hill climbs and hill downs. But your joy matters to you having the life that you want to have. And so I invite you to ask, what did I enjoy today? We said that earlier. And even maybe ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want that's maybe I'm not getting or pursuing or is missing? And what if you could have it? I want you to thrive and to enjoy your life.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Kate. I really appreciate you. I loved our conversation today. And thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate all of your energy, your heart, your joy, all of it. And I want to just tell the people that are listening out there that if this show resonated with you, and I hope that it did, I hope it caused you to stop for a moment and take some deep breaths or huff some breaths with us and and start to re-examine and think about, and not just think about, but feel what you're feeling. Does it feel joyful? What does that even feel like? Start questioning that piece of your life, because that piece of your life is going to make a difference in all of your life and the lives of the people around you. So I'm just going to leave it at that because otherwise I'm just going to keep going. But if this resonated with you, please share it with a friend, rate, review. And also, I'd love to ask my lovely guest, Kate, how can people get in touch with you more importantly?
If you want to be part of the movement to master joy, you can join my community at joymasterymethod.com. There's a link there to the book if you want to read more. And then if you scroll to the bottom, you can sign up for a free 31-day joy expanding email sequence, which will put you on my list. I email about once a week too, and I do a masterclass at the end of every month. So I'd love to have you be part of the conversation and the community and be with us and create this movement of more joy in the world.
Beautiful. And I will put that information in the show notes. Reach out, be part of the movement, bring some joy and high vibe to the world. Please, I'm begging you right now, do it. All right. Until next week, this is Sue Willoughby, Chief Strategist here at Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, and I will see you next time.